And hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the monthly rewind for the Movie Pit podcast. I did one for January. It was within a podcast, so if you're wondering where's January, it was already in one of the podcasts. But I did do one. I released one a couple weeks ago, right? I don't know, all the days are starting to merge together. But I released one a couple weeks ago, which was February and March. So if you need a reminder of what the monthly rewind is, this is basically where it's basically where I look at all the movies that I have watched from 2000 to 2018. And there was a reason why I didn't do 2019. It was because before I had this idea before, the whole coronavirus COVID-19 thing started going around. And I thought, well, we're watching movies in 2020. Everyone pretty much remembers the movies of 2019. So there was no reason for it. Although now I feel like I should probably start adding the movies in 2019 because we don't know when we're gonna leave the house again. But I just decided to do 2000 to 2018 because I thought it was pretty cool. I'm doing a version of this on my WordPress, so if you follow the WordPress account, you've probably seen something similar to this. If you're not, then this is a little bit different. Obviously, there's more movies, obviously because I extended from 2010 to 2000. So it's just a way for me to look back at all the movies that I watched and see what kind of movies still stick out, what kind of movies still have a bit of a hold on me, and what movies that just that I really connect to. And that's pretty much what this monthly rewind is. So let's get to it. This is for the month of April. Again, all the April movies from 2018, the ones that I've seen and the ones that stuck out to me the most, because otherwise this podcast would be like 5 hours long, and you and I both don't need that in our lives right now. We have other podcasts to listen to, we have other things to get to, so let's just get to it. So let's start off with 2000, which ironically I have nothing from 2000. Nothing from April of 2000 really stuck out to me or really connected to me in any way. So let's move on to 2001. I only got one, and that is Josie and the Pussycats, which is very somewhat of a guilty pleasure, although it's not really necessarily too much of a guilty pleasure because I do relatively enjoy that movie, and I usually tell people that I enjoy that movie. It is based off, of course, the show, the old animated show is done in a obviously more modern context. It's very meta, which I very much enjoy, and I think that's one of the reasons why it really sticks out to me. It's a little dated, obviously, because it's based in 2001, and there was a lot of stuff. There was MTV plays a big factor in the movie. Obviously, MTV no longer plays music videos, but it's very meta. It still works today if you're interested. Rachel Lee Cook, Tara Reid, and Rosario Dawson play Josie and the Pussycats. Rosie, what was her name? Not Rosie. What was Parker Posey? There you go. Parker Posey is in the movie. So is Alan. Why am I forgetting his last name? I don't remember his last name. The guy who played Nightcrawler. I don't know why I can't remember his last name. He's in there as well. Just a bunch of other people are in there as well. And it's a very good movie. It's a very good comedy if you want to just turn your brain off and just have a good laugh. Josie and the Pussycats is the movie for you. All right, so let's move on to 2002. I only have one, and that is Jason. That's Jason X. I unabashedly love Jason X. It is such a good cheesy movie. It is almost a parody of the Friday the 13th franchise, to the point where they're kind of just making fun of themselves, and they make fun of the fact of the other Friday the 13th movies in the movie itself. I just really love it, man. I don't know what it is. It's Jason in space. He's not the first horror icon to go to space. Leprechaun went to space. So you know what? Just it's a dumb, fun movie, and that is why I love it. That's really why I love it.
Guys, it's okay. He just wanted his machete back.
2003. I almost jumped 10 years. 2003. I have Identity. And Identity is one of those movies that I think has been forgotten about. It's kind of slipped to the wayside a little bit. And it's about a movie. It's about a movie. It's a movie about a bunch of people who get stuck at a motel during a very nasty rain or thunderstorm. It has John Cusack, Ray Liotta. It has a bunch of people. It has a bunch of other people. And I don't know why those are the ones that. Those are the ones that immediately stick out to me right away. But there's a bunch of other people in that movie as well. And I remember watching this. It's one of the first thrillers that I can remember immediately kind of getting to me. I can't do immediate math in my head right now, but it was one of those. I think it worked even more because we watched it at night in a jam-packed movie theater, and everyone was just really into it. So it's just one of those movies that really sticks out to me. It's again, it's kind of been forgotten about, mainly because I think a lot of people think that the twist at the end doesn't really work. There's a twist in the end. It's in the trailers. If you decide to watch the trailer before you watch the movie, they kind of immediately think there's a twist. So it's really weird. I don't know. Looking back at it now, that it doesn't work too well, but it's still there. All right, so let's move on. 2004. I got 3 movies in 2004. The first one is Ella Enchanted. That is the Amy Adams movie, the one that starts off as an animated movie and then becomes a live action movie. Mainly for Amy Adams, really. I mean, she plays it so perfect and to a T. I don't know. I just really loved it back then. I watched like part of it a little bit. I think it was like last year where I watched a little part of it because it was on TV. And I started watching it before I had to go somewhere, but I just remember really liking it. And it's still pretty good to this day. I mean, she just plays it so perfectly. And then James Marsden as, basically Prince Charming. And he's such a goof in that movie, which you see him now, and then you see him in Westworld and you're like, that's 2 completely different people. So that's pretty cool. The next one is The Punisher. That's the Thomas Jane one. I really liked that movie when I was a kid. I was starting to get into The Punisher a little bit comic wise. And then I ended up watching the movie and I just really liked it. Watching it now, there are some problems with it, but I think Thomas Jane was a pretty decent, Frank Castle was a pretty decent Punisher. So there's that. And then of course, Mean Girls. It's a movie that if you've watched it, you're a big fan of it. And if you haven't watched it, you don't really get the appeal of it. Maybe if you have watched it, you don't really like it, and that's fine. But I really like Mean Girls. It's just, the comedy's spot on. It's smart. It's I don't know. It's a smart, funny comedy that I really enjoy. And it's the little things in the movie that just make it really work. So there you go. Mean Girls, 2004.
I just wish we could all get along like we used to in middle school. I wish that I could bake a cake made out of rainbows and smiles and we'd all eat it, be happy.
She doesn't even go here.
Do you even go to this school?
No, I just have a lot of feelings.
Okay, go home.
2005, I have Kung Fu Hustle, which was one of the movies by, why am I forgetting his, Stephen something. Why am I forgetting his last name? Stephen Chow? I could be wrong about that. And I didn't put it down. But it was one of his movies that really made it like big here. It was that one, and it was Shaolin Soccer that I think it was Shaolin Soccer was the other one, or it was the same company. But Kung Fu Hustle, when I watched it for the first time in a movie theater, it was surprisingly packed. I think a lot of people were just really big fans of it and wanted to see what was it all about. And it fools you into thinking it's this very serious movie, and then it goes into to the comedy bits, and the comedy bits still work. It still works to this day. I watched it a few years ago and I still really, really liked it. So Kung Fu Hustle was just one of those movies. I just still remember was she the landlord? I can't remember who she was, or she was someone that lived in the building. We all know who I'm talking about if you watch the movie. But her, she is the standout of that movie. Then we have The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, which everyone really fell in love with. I never read the comic, so I wasn't really familiar with it. I went to go watch it with my brother, who won passes to an early screening. I went to go watch it, and I really liked it. And it's still one of those things that still hits to me. Of course, everyone is always referencing The Meaning of Life, 47, 42, 47. It's one of those. It's a 40. It's in the 40s. But I really, so much for impact, right? But no, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was funny. It was one of those, for me at the time, it was one of those smart comedies that I kind of got. And I still really like it. And if you go back and watch it today, you got Zooey Deschanel in there. You got Martin Freeman in there. I forgot Martin Freeman was in the movie until like a few, years later, where I started paying attention more to actors and stuff, and I was like, oh, that's him. So it was really good. And then Sin City is the other one. Of course, Sin City made a big impact when it came out. It was one of those movies that everyone was talking about because of the director's the style of the movie. It was made to look like the comic book. The ensemble of actors in there: Bruce Willis, Jessica Alba, Mickey Rourke. Why am I forgetting? Powers Booth was in there as well. You just had all these actors in there. Elijah Wood in there, and Clive Owen. Now they're all coming to me. Clive Owen, Rosario Dawson, all these actors in there, and they were all playing, these little bit parts, and it was like 4 different stories that came together into one. I remember watching it in a movie theater, and you can tell, even I could tell, that everyone in that movie theater had read the comic, because they were laughing at parts, they were awing at parts, they knew kind of everything about the comic book, and they knew the stories that were coming together, and they just really liked it. So I remember really liking it too. A lot of it was just the style that it was different back then, and it's still kind of a little different even now. You don't get that kind of style now. They tried to do it with the Spirit like years later, didn't work because the Spirit wasn't very good, and then of course they did the sequel to Sin City, and that wasn't very good either. I did not enjoy the sequel to Sin City, but the first Sin City, very good. I watched it, I think it was like last year. I ended up watching it last year it just happened to be on TV, and it started from the beginning, and I just sat there, and by the time I knew, I was watching the whole thing, and it still kind of holds up a little bit. It still does. All right, let's move on to 2006. I have 2 movies there. I have Lucky Number Slevin. Lucky Number Slevin has a bit of more personal touch for me. It's a movie with Josh Hartnett. He plays someone named Slevin Kalevra. He ends up working with Bruce Willis's character, who is a hitman, and they're trying to take out a crime lord. One of them played by Ben Kingsley, another one played by Morgan Freeman. It's one of those movies that I think has kind of been forgotten about, mainly because of probably Josh Hartnett. Nothing against Josh Hartnett. He's a fine actor when he's given the right material. But Lucky Number Slevin holds a little bit more of a personal touch for me, because I took the name Kalevra and essentially ended up using it for a lot of stuff. I originally ended up naming my YouTube channel Kalevra 27. So I just kind of really liked it. And back then when I watched it, the whole movie was really good. It was funny. And then it was one of those things where they kind of pull the rug from under you a little bit. And I was like, I didn't see that coming. So that's kind of why I still really end up liking that movie. So there's that. But 2006, the main movie that I really enjoyed that year was Silent Hill. It was based off the video game. I admittedly have played like little bits of the Silent Hill games at that point. I knew what it was. I knew the gist of it. I never played a whole game all the way through, because I was kind of playing like demos and stuff. And but I really kind of knew the gist of it. So when I went to go watch the movie, I didn't know what to expect from the video game wise. I kind of just went in there, just knowing that, okay, this is the gist of Silent Hill. I'm gonna go watch it. And then the movie started playing, and everything started going down. And I was like, this movie's terrifying, and this movie's really messed up, and it's still messed up. And I still think that Silent Hill is one of those forgotten video game movies that no one talks about. For me, I think that Silent Hill, if you were gonna make a list of the top, let's just say top 10. Let's just say top 10. Let's narrow it down. Top 5 video game movies of all time. Silent Hill, for me, would be in that top 5. I think it's a solid movie, regardless of whether it's based off a video game or not. I think the production design on this thing is great. It gets a little convoluted. Even I will admit that it gets a little convoluted by the end, but how messed up and how gothic this movie is really did me in, and I think really did a lot of fans, and then they kind of killed it with the sequel, but we don't talk about that. But I really liked Silent Hill. I really love Silent Hill. Silent Hill is one of my, I will die on the hill of Silent Hill being one of the top video game movies of all time. I will say that, even with its faults, but I will say that. All right, so let's move on. 2007, we have 28 Weeks Later. So this was, of course, a sequel to 28 Days Later. 28 Days Later didn't come out in April, so I'm pretty sure we'll talk about that on the list at some point. But 28 Weeks Later, I really liked it. And you go back and you watch it and you forget some things about it. Like, I forgot that Idris Elba was in the movie. He's in the movie. He has a very small role. He has a very short role in the movie, but he's in there. Jeremy Renner's in there. Rose Byrne's in there. Image Poots, I think this was kind of a breakout role in there. But this was, I enjoyed it. It wasn't. It's definitely something different from 28 Days Later, because 28 Days Later was really more of I mean, both of the movies are survival, but I think 28 Weeks Later takes a little bit more of the action approach than 28 Days. 28 Days was kind of more of a character piece in a way, kind of more of a survival movie in a way, a survival non-action movie. And 28 Weeks Later is a more survival action, I almost said game, movie. But I still really enjoyed it. I think it's still a solid sequel. I wouldn't say it's superior to 28 Days, but I think it's still pretty good. And we never got 28 Months, which was supposed to be the sequel, the third movie. But I don't know. Maybe we'll still do it. I don't know. Maybe they'll still do it. We'll see. So 2008. I got two movies here. I have The Forbidden Kingdom, which was the movie, the long-awaited movie that had Jet Li and Jackie Chan in it, where they were fighting each other. The movie itself, okay, it's not great. It's just fine. The Jackie Chan Jet Li movie kind of takes place within like the first, I think it's like the beginning of the second act when the fight happens, and after that they don't fight each other anymore and they're just kind of teaming up, which is fine. But I don't know. I kind of expected a little bit more from the movie back then, and even now looking back at it, it's like, no, I still kind of expected more from the movie. But there you go. The Ruins, which is another horror movie that came out in 2000, or just one of the movies that came out in 2008, just another horror movie that we're talking about on the list here. But The Ruins, based off a novel. I never read the novel, so I didn't know what I was kind of going in there a little blind. But the movie itself, in case you don't remember, it's about this group of Americans who end up going to, I forget what part of Mexico they're in, but they end up going and they end up finding like some other people, and them going to these ruins. Obviously the movie's called The Ruins, these hidden ruins, and they ended up unbeknownst to them, that particular temple that they're visiting is kind of blocked off by the natives, and they don't know it. And once they kind of step inside this little weird circle that they kind of, because it's surrounded by forest, and then as soon as they get to the temple, it's just all gravel, like all dirt. And once they step in there, they're not allowed to leave because the natives won't let them. And they find out that the pyramid is kind of the home of these weird roots that once it affects them, it drives them crazy, it drives them insane. It's a very good movie. It's much better than the way that I explained it, but I didn't want to give anything away. But it's a very good horror movie. It's just one of those movies where you're watching it and you kind of like, you want it to end because these people are just going through enough already. It is different from the novel. If you want to read the novel and then watch the movie, or want to watch the movie and then read the novel, there are some changes from what I understand. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was very good. It kind of ends kind of abruptly, but there's a reason for it. So there's that. Okay, let's move on. 2009. I only got one, and I only put it on here because I want to remind people that this movie exists, even though we all acknowledge that it shouldn't have existed. Dragon Ball Evolution. It is not good. It is not a good Dragon Ball movie. It's not good. I'll just put it that way. It's not good. There you go. 2010. Let's move on to 2010, which I think is the biggest movie. Yes, it's the biggest one that I have of 2010. So 2010 April was a very good year. Although one of these movies I saw beforehand, but it's got a wide release in April, so I'm just going to put it on the list. So the first movie we're going to talk about is Kick-Ass, which is based off the graphic novel. Aaron Tyler Johnson, Nicolas Cage, Chloe Grace Moretz, Christopher Mintz-Plasse, Mark Strong. It's a movie about, Aaron Tyler Johnson's character who ends up getting weird, not necessarily a superpower. He ends up getting into this very bad accident, and he ends up getting like, I think the thing he has like metal plates in him, so he doesn't feel any pain. Or he's very resilient to pain, and then he ends up becoming this vigilante superhero. Unbeknownst to him, the thing he messes up is for a big crime lord, and unbeknownst to him, there's actually people who want to take the vigilante superhero thing seriously, and that's played by Nicolas Cage's character, and Chloe Grace Moretz plays his daughter. And this was, of course, the big breakout for Chloe Grace Moretz when she plays Hit Girl, and the movie itself, it was kind of, it was the more edgier outside, outside the lines superhero movie that that Marvel was doing at the time, and everyone just kind of went crazy for it because it was a superhero movie where the hero swore, and that's pretty much what made this movie different from anything else. But it kind of still holds up to this day. If you watch it again, it still holds up to this day. The next one is another comic book movie. Kind of got lost in the shuffle. It kind of gets forgotten about, but I really love this movie, and it's got an awesome cast. It's The Losers. Jeffrey Dean Morgan, Idris Elba, Chris Evans, Zoe Saldana. Who else is in there? Jason Patrick's in there. Mahoney's in there as well. He's a big character actor. He plays one of the agents in Mindhunters. He's in there. Who else is in there? You got some other people in there as well. I've never read The Losers before, so I didn't really know anything about it, but I went to go watch it. And it's really good. It's one of those comic movies where if anyone asks me, give me a movie that's, an action movie that's has some comedy in it, that's a quick breeze to get through, I would give you The Losers. The Losers is very good. It's really good. It has some faults. All movies have their faults. Losers has some of their faults. It kind of slows down a little bit in the middle and right before the third act, but it's a very good movie. It's a very entertaining movie. It's the cast itself makes it worthwhile. It's just go watch it. If you haven't watched it yet, go watch it. It's very, very good.
Rogue. I'm sorry I hit you in the face.
That was good. Bro.
Clay, I'm sorry I threatened to cut your head off.
Very good. Wow. You do feel so much better.
The Human Centipede is the next movie. I went to go watch this movie with someone I knew from high school. If you're from the Chicagoland area, you probably know the movie theater I'm about to mention. I went to go watch it at the Music Box. It was one of those kind of late night movies. And we went, and there was a lot of buzz surrounding The Human Centipede. Everyone was saying this movie is so disgusting. It's one of the most grossest movies of the year. You won't believe it. You'll throw up in the movie theater. You'll hate yourself for watching it. And I went to go watch it, and it's not that gross. I mean, the concept itself, being stuck to someone's, ass, ass to mouth. That's disgusting. There's a point where when all three people are together and, one of them has to take a shit, and it has to go through the other two people before it comes out. That's disgusting. But for the most part, it's not that disgusting. It's kind of tame, believe it or not, considering all the other disgusting, how dare you, produce this, how dare you make this, how dare you release this horror movies out there. It's not, it's not that disgusting. It's pretty tame compared to other horror movies, or other black comedies, if you want to label it that, because it's not really a horror movie. There is a lot of comedic and humorous bits in the movie. I think that's kind of maybe where the marketing kind of got mixed up, because they're marketing this as, a pure horror thriller movie, and then you went to go watch and it's like, this movie's a lot more humorous than, you kind of guys let on. It's not very good. I'm not a fan of it, and not because, I got promised this one thing and got something else. I'm just not a fan of it. It's not good. It does, by the end of it, it does kind of get like, okay, like this is messed up, but not messed up in the, oh, this is gross. It's messed up in the, oh, you're stuck in the situation kind of thing. That part's like, okay, yeah, now I feel for this character, but and the characters themselves, not the greatest people in the world. So they're kind of dumb too. So there is that, but I'm just not a big fan of the movie. The next movie I'm not a very big fan of is the Nightmare on Elm Street remake that came out in 2010. I went to go see this with some of my friends because we were like, you know what? At that point, we were watching, we were kind of going to the movies a lot together. And we went to go watch Nightmare on Elm Street together. And it was opening night. It was Friday night. We went to go watch it. And it is not good. I did not like the remake, even though some of it was actually shot in the area that I live, in the town that I live, which I thought was really cool. They shot one part like near a gas station that I always kind of drive past when I go to work now. They shot one of it by what used to be a pharmacy next to a movie theater that's like 10 minutes from my house, maybe less than that, a 10-minute drive from my house. So there is that, but I don't know, man. I didn't like it. Now I did like Jackie Earle Haley as the new Freddy Krueger. I think if you had to replace Robert Englund as Freddy Krueger, I think Jackie Earle Haley was a pretty good choice. I think he even though he wasn't given the best material, I think he did the character some justice. I think he was a good, replacement for that. I think he probably is the best thing about the movie, even though, the movie's not very good. The movie itself, it's not. I did like some parts. I did like Jackie Earle Haley. There was one part that I kind of liked. It takes place in the pharmacy that I just mentioned. And Rooney Mara's Nancy's in there. She's in between an aisle, and she starts, coming in and out from her dream state to her awake state, and the pharmacy and this kind of just the hallway of where Freddy is in the dream kind of starts blending together, and this kind of start coming together. I did like that. I thought that was a really cool visual, but movie itself, not very good. It's not very good. And then you look back and you're like, oh, Rooney Mara's in there. That's pretty cool. And then it's like, oh yeah, she probably doesn't want to be remembered that she was in this movie. Katie Cassidy's in there. She did a pretty great job in there. But it's not good. It's not a good movie. It is not. All right, so let's talk about, let's end 2010 with a good movie, or at least a movie that I think is very good, and that's The Good, the Bad, the Weird. It is a South Korean movie. Of course, it's a play on The Good, the Bad, the Ugly. It's very good. I watched this at the film festival here in Chicago, the Chicago International Film Festival, the year before, because that's when it came out. But again, guys, wide release in 2010, and it was very good. I liked it. It's action filled. It's one of my favorite South Korean movies, and looking back, I've watched a lot of South Korean movies. This is definitely still one of my favorites to this day. It's about a bounty hunter. It's about a assassin and down on his luck kind of thief that get their hands on they're hunting down a treasure map, and the treasure, of course, that leads to that's there. It's very good. It leads to this big bombastic final act that surprised me, that I really, really enjoyed, and I still kind of look up on YouTube to this day because it's very good. But there you go. The Good, the Bad, the Weird. 2011. I got 3 movies for you guys. The first one is 13 Assassins. I saw this first at another film festival, not the Chicago International Film Festival. I actually saw this at a now no longer running film festival called Action Fest. It used to run in North Carolina, so my brother and I would drive to North Carolina to go to this film festival that lasted like about 2-3 years. And we saw this one, 13 Assassins. It was their quote unquote midnight movie, and it's there. I will explain it in 2 words. That the one of the program assistants, they usually, at film festivals usually come in and they kind of give you a rundown on what the movie's about, and how, because they watched it pretty much, and tell you like little bits of it, or not spoiler wise, but tell you what to expect. And he said these 2 words at the end, and it's 2 words that are used in the movie, and it's total massacre. And that is how I will describe this movie, because it's 13 assassins. They're trying to stop this lord, this evil lord who wants to take over the country and like half the country. And it's these 13 assassins that have to come together and stop him. And the final act is just this very long, drawn out sword fight, because it takes place in feudal China. And it's very good. It's done. It's also done by Takashi. I can't say his name. Takashi Miike. And if you know anything about Takashi Miike, you know what his movies are. You know what to expect. It's done by him. That's all you need to know. So the other movie in 2011 is Insidious. It's of course was done by James Wan, and it's the first movie in the Insidious franchise. It is still to this day one of those horror movies that still gets me. It is one of the horror movies that I audibly gasped in the movie theater with everyone else. I usually, when I'm watching a horror movie, it's like, yeah, I freak out, and, I kind of, just get a little, jumpy in the movie theater, but not like, just I'll jump off my chair. It's like, it's like, oh, I'm startled. But Insidious has the moment where the lipstick demon, as he's called, appears behind Patrick Wilson, pretty much the infamous shot. If you say Insidious, that's kind of the shot that everyone pretty much thinks about. When that happened in the movie theater, I was not ready for it, and I don't think anyone else in my movie theater was ready for it, and we all kind of just let out this gasp, and I was I was right there. I never had done that in a horror movie, and Insidious made me do it. So I think that's reason alone for it to be on this list. So 2011, the last one, Fast Five. Fast Five arguably kind of, jump started the Fast and the Furious franchise again. It kind of took the heist movies to another level, because, the first one was pretty much a heist movie, and this one was now, a bigger heist movie. It got Dwayne Johnson in there. It just, moved the franchise to an international level. So just opened up the doors to a bunch more things, and it started, adding the ridiculous level to the franchise. And that, but, let's face it, that scene where they're driving the safe down the streets of Rio is one of the best action scenes that happened that year, and still to this day. So, yeah.
All right, listen up. The men we're after are professional runners. They like speed and guaranteed to go down the hardest possible way. So make sure you got your underwear on. We find them, we take them as a team, and we bring them back. And above all else, we don't ever let them get in the cars.
All right, so 2012, I have two movies. One of them was another one that I watched at Action Fest. Got its wide release in 2012. That was Headhunters. It's a Swedish movie. It stars Nikolai. What's his name? What is his name? Nikolai Coster-Waldau, Jaime Lannister from Game of Thrones. He plays. He's not the main character in the movie, but he plays someone who is after this headhunter who has a painting of his and will do anything he can to get it back. So he pretty much plays kind of the bad guy in the movie. It's one of those Swedish movies that this is around the time of The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. So I'd already seen The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, so I was somewhat familiar with kind of the Swedish movie, the Swedish drama movies, the Swedish crime drama movies at that point. And Headhunters was one of those movies where I watched it. I'm like, this is good. It went in a direction that I didn't think it would go, but kind of looking back at it now, it's like, okay, that's kind of the direction where a lot of these movies go now. But back then I was like, oh, okay, like this is good. So Headhunters, if you want to go check that out. And 2012, the other movie, The Cabin in the Woods. I don't know what more there is to say about Cabin in the Woods. Pretty much everything has been said about it. It is it could arguably be the be all end all of horror movies, considering how meta it is and considering kind of what it's saying. So Cabin in the Woods, not much more to say about it. Just, everything that's been said about it has been said about it. I love it. I think it's great. So there you go. 2013. We have one movie. We have the Evil Dead remake, reboot, reimagining, whatever you want to call it. I know a lot of people don't like it. I know a lot of people are still on the fence about it. I really like it. I think it's great. I think it's a great horror movie. I think it's a great reimagining. It keeps the spirit of the Sam Raimi movie. Why did I say his name weird? The Sam Raimi movies. Raimi. Why am I still saying it weird? Anyway. Him, that guy, it still keeps the spirit of his movies in there while also doing its own thing, and I think that's kind of really why I like it. That's really why I appreciate it. It is much more of a horror movie, obviously, because it has a bigger budget than the Raimi movies, but the first Raimi movie anyway. But I really like it. It's really good. I enjoyed it. I freaked out with everyone in the movie theater. So yeah, there is that. 2014, I have 4 movies for you guys. The first one is Oculus. That is the movie by Mike Flanagan about the evil mirror with Karen Gillan. Katie Sackhoff's also in there. This is the first Mike Flanagan movie that I watched. I think this is the first Mike Flanagan movie that I think a lot of people remember watching, maybe. He's the guy behind The Haunting of Hill House, the Netflix series. But I watched this and I really fell in love with it because of the editing. It was the first movie where I was like, I really like the editing in this movie. That was the first time I've said that in a very long time. I think that was the first time I ever said it, that I was like, I really like the editing in this movie. Because the way he edits his movies, and not just this movie, it's all of his movies, even Haunting at Hill House. The way he edits the scenes, because it takes place in the present and then it takes place in the past, because it follows the characters of Karen Gillan and her brother, who are trying to clear her brother's name because her brother has kind of been taking the blame for the deaths of their parents. But they both know that it was the mirror who was doing it, so it kind of bounces back and forth between the present and the past. And and kind of similar to The Haunting of Hill House. And the way he kind of edits the two scenes together seamlessly is fantastic. And it's one of the reasons why I love Mike Flanagan as a director, because the way he's able to do that. And Oculus was the first time that I kind of saw that. And again, it was the first time that I ever mentioned I love the editing in this movie. Something I have been saying, every now and then now, but Oculus is one of those first movies where I was like, the editing's awesome in this movie. If you're going to watch this movie, watch it for the editing. So the next movie is The Raid 2. Of course, a sequel to The Raid. We talked about The Raid in the March monthly rewind, but The Raid 2, it's very kind of, it's a little different from The Raid. It's telling a different story, but it tells its story thoroughly. So it's telling its story from beginning to end, no matter what. It's a very slow burn to the action scenes, but once you get to the action scenes, they're just fucking phenomenal. And the final fight scene in the kitchen is one of my favorite fight scenes of all time, because just the way they do it, and the way how long it is, how brutal it is, I just love it. So The Raid 2. The next movie in 2014 is Locke. It's a movie, I don't know if a lot of people saw it. It stars Tom Hardy, and that's it. There's other actors. There's actors like on the phone, but it's basically Tom Hardy in a car by himself making calls to people throughout the night, and he's just driving, and that's all the movie is. And if there was ever a doubt that Tom Hardy cannot carry a movie, watch Locke, because Locke is, and it's Locke with an E. It's very good. It's Tom Hardy just basically talking to people on the phone, and finding out later that he was actually sick, because his character is kind of like has like a runny nose and he's like talking funny. It's because he was sick, and the character ends up being sick because Tom Hardy was sick. So that was kind of like a little behind the scenes thing that I found out later. But it's very good. If you haven't watched it, I highly recommend you watch it, especially if you're a fan of Tom Hardy. If you've not watched it, go ahead and watch it. It's basically just him for like an hour and like something minutes. So it's very, very good. And then finally, Captain America: The Winter Soldier. Arguably my favorite Marvel movie of all time. If we want to do a ranking of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, I honestly would probably put Captain America: The Winter Soldier on top. It is one of my favorite Captain America movies. It is one of my favorite Marvel movies. I love this movie. It does have a comic booky aspect to it. The characters are obviously from comic books, but it treats itself for the most part like a spy thriller, and that is what I really love about the movie, because it's even if you don't know anything about Captain America, if you don't know anything about the Marvel Cinematic Universe, if you just watch this movie by itself, it's still very good, and you can still really, really enjoy it. So it's yeah, I love Captain America: The Winter Soldier. It is, again, arguably my favorite Marvel movie of all time. So there you go.
I need a new set of lungs. Dude, you just ran like 13 miles in 30 minutes.
Guess I got a late start.
Really? You should be ashamed of yourself. You should take another lap. Did you just take it? I assume you just took it.
Let's move on to 2015. We're almost done. Furious 7. That is, of course, the last movie with Paul Walker's character in it. And not a dry eye in the house when that tribute started playing at the end. It is the movie itself still pretty good. It's arguably, I don't know where I would put it on the list. It is one of the, I don't want to say it's one of the better movies, but it there is this cloud over it, obviously, with Paul Walker passing away before they were able to finish all his scenes. But they they pretty much edit it together seamlessly, because you can't really tell where it's him or where it's not, except at the end where he's in the car and he's smiling. You can tell that's not really him. But other than that, it's a weird movie, because it's like, okay, like you have to tell the story you're trying to tell, but you're also now having to tell the story of one of the characters that has been there from pretty much the beginning to kind of write him off, because obviously Paul Walker passed away. So there's that. But it's still very good. So the next one is Ex Machina. That is, of course, the movie with Oscar Isaac, Domhnall Gleeson, Alicia Vikander, directed by, was it Alex Garland who directed it? I think it was Alex Garland who directed it. Yeah, very, very good. It's one of those kind of very smart sci-fi movies, about artificial intelligence, and whether or not that artificial intelligence can actually pass as human. And that's kind of the whole point of the movie, is Domhnall Gleeson is being tested by Oscar Isaac to see if Alicia Vikander can pass as human. And it's very, very good. And of course everyone talks about the random dance scene in the movie by Oscar Isaac, which it is very random because it kind of comes out of nowhere. But there you go. It's still very good. It's pretty much just them three. It's Domhnall Gleeson, Alicia Vikander, Oscar Isaac. There is another actress in the movie. I didn't write down her name, but it's pretty much them three, and they do a fantastic job together. It must have been really fun on set to just watch all those three, do their best. And this was the movie that, of course, pretty much launched Alicia Vikander's career. 2016, I only got 2 movies for you guys. I have The Jungle Book, Disney's, of course, quote unquote live action Jungle Book movie. I didn't really watch the Jungle Book movies. I didn't have a connection to them as like a lot of other people, but I went to go watch it because it was Disney, and I like Jon Favreau, and I thought it looked interesting, and I was very surprised by it. It just kind of blew me away. It was one of those movies where I was just like, I wasn't really expecting much, and I went to go watch it, and I was like, damn, this is good. This is really good. So I really enjoyed The Jungle Book. I thought it was great. I thought it was awesome. I think the technology obviously is a little bit ahead of its time. It was something that I didn't think a lot of people thought that it'd be able to pull it off, and they did. And of course, they brought that technology to The Lion King, and now here we are. All right. The next movie in 2016, the last movie in 2016, is Sing Street. I don't know if a lot of people watch this. It is on Netflix. If you want to go watch it, I highly recommend you do. It is set in, was it set in the 80s? I think it's set in the 80s in Ireland, 70s or 80s, one of those two. No, I think it's 80s. It's 80s, in Ireland. And it follows this group of kids who start a band. Mainly one guy. It's one of these characters who starts a band because he wants to impress a girl, as we all want to do. And, some of us probably want to do. And, he starts a band with, some of his friends and some of the schoolmates, even though he goes to a, Catholic school where they kind of frown upon that. And it's a great coming of age movie. The soundtrack to this thing, because all of the songs are pretty much, originals, and the soundtrack to this thing is amazing. It really is. The soundtrack alone to this movie should be the reason you should be watching it. But it's a great coming of age movie. Jake Raynar's in there. The first thing we all kind of saw Jake Raynar in was Transformers, where he plays the love interest to Mark Wahlberg's daughter's character. So it wasn't The Last Night. It was the one before that. But that was kind of the first thing we all saw him in, at least here in America. And I was like, I'm not the biggest fan because I didn't really like his character in that movie. And then I saw him in this. And I'm like, no, I'm a fan of Jake Raynar now. And Sing Street's great. So go watch it. He plays the older brother in that movie, but he's not the main character. He's just a supporting character. But he's very, very good in that movie too. So there you go. Next movie, 2017. Ironically, also stars Jake Raynar. He's not the main character in that movie either, but he's in it, and he's very good in it as well. But Free Fire. That's the movie for 2017. It's a movie set in Boston, like in the 70s, and it's about these rival gangs who come together for an arms deal, and everything just kind of goes to shit. And it's this big shootout, and they're all stuck in a warehouse. They can't really leave because obviously if one of them leaves, they'll know who left, and they'll want to go, shoot them up. It's a great movie. They're all stuck in a warehouse. It's Armie Hammer, Cillian Murphy, Jake Raynar, like I mentioned. Brie Larson's in there as well. Charlotte Copley's in there. He just hams it up, which is great. Armie Hammer hams it up a little bit too. You can tell he's having a lot of fun. It's a great movie. It really is. It's funny. It's that British wit to it, because a lot of it's done by a British director, so there's a lot of British actors in there. But it's great. It really is. You go watch it. Free Fire. It's amazing. I know it's on a streaming service somewhere. I can't remember which one it's on, but it's out there if you want to go watch it. Free Fire.
Why would you say that?
What are you doing? You're just making it worse. Everybody, take a chalk ball, okay? Just calm the fuck down. Now listen here. We'd like to leave with our money, and I'm sure that you boys would like to leave with the weapons. Okay? This is not good for business.
Well, bringing AR-70s to an M16 deal is not good for business.
Neither is bringing a sex pest.
It's under control, doll. I got this. The bird has a point. Okay? We'd like to trust you, but we can't because your boy has been disrespectful.
All right. Fair enough.
Okay?
Just give me a minute. All right, enough.
Hey?
You all right, Chris?
Get on my...
And finally, 2018, arguably the best year besides 2010, at least for me, all quality movies. We have, first one is Isle of Dogs, which is the Wes Anderson stop motion movie, where a kid goes to an island that is now fully inhabited by dogs as he's trying to find his own, and the dogs try to help the boy out. It's very good. I originally wasn't the biggest Wes Anderson fan. I mentioned this on the last monthly rewind, but the first one I saw was Fantastic Mr. Fox. And I really love Fantastic Mr. Fox. So when I saw he was doing Isle of Dogs, I was like, is this going to be as good? And I don't know if it's as good, but it's very different, obviously, from Fantastic Mr. Fox. But I still really enjoyed it. It's still very, very good. So that's Isle of Dogs. The next one is A Quiet Place. I don't know why I said that so quietly. Maybe I was subconsciously trying to fit it. Although even this little whisper would have me being attacked by an alien. But I don't know why I'm still doing it. Anyway, A Quiet Place, very, very good. I think everyone had the same reaction. We were all in movie theaters and everything was dead quiet. Like you couldn't even drink your soda. If you did, you had to do it very quietly because like everything was just so quiet. No one was eating snacks. No one was eating popcorn. My theater was completely quiet. No one pulled out their cell phone at any point during the movie theater, which is very rare, especially in the movie theaters that I go to. But it was very, very good. I loved A Quiet Place. I thought it was great. It had this movie experience that we all connected. Like, put your phones away, don't make any noise, enjoy the movie. God damn it! And that's what we did. So there you go, Quiet Place. And finally, Avengers: Infinity War. A culmination at that point of the MCU and just having all these characters on screen together, having Thanos, who was introduced all the way in the Avengers years and years ago, having him finally come into the big screen and just having all these characters come together, these different groups of characters who we all thought probably wouldn't come together and they had to work together. And then, of course, the ending that everyone remembers, the snap, the decimation, whatever you want to, the blip, whatever you want to call it, and having all these characters fade away. And every time I watched it, I'm pretty sure I watched it like twice or three times opening weekend. I know, I'm a nerd. Leave me alone. Every time, everyone was just, in awe. It was this audible gasp in the movie theater. All this, no, what's happening? Of these characters fading away. You don't really get that experience that much. And to get that experience 3 different times, 3 different time slots was amazing. It was great. And everyone's like, oh, the superhero always wins. Thanos won in that game, in that movie. So get over it. So there you go. That's it. That is my monthly rewind for April. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Again, if you like this series, let me know. If you don't, then let me know too, and I'll stop doing it. So don't have to waste your time and take up your feed. But yeah, thank you guys so much for listening. Of course, next time we'll look at May. May has some really good movies too. So we'll talk about that in May. I'll release that podcast in May, just to keep up the monthly trend of that until we get, of course, to the end of the year in December. So thank you guys so much for listening to the monthly rewind. Let me know what your favorite movie was in April. Maybe you agree with me on my list. If you don't, then, let me know what you enjoyed. There's a lot of movies. Obviously, if something came out, I probably missed it in everything. But that is the case. Obviously, look at how many movies I had to put down. So yeah. So thank you guys so much for listening to the monthly rewind of April. Hopefully you guys are enjoying this series, and hopefully you guys are safe and sound at home with everything going on. And be safe, be healthy, be good people, and go watch some movies. See you guys next time.